Good morning. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder of EPARTRADE. It is about 9 o'clock here in California, and I am with Judy Keane, the co-founder of EPARTRADE. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning, Francisque. I'm so excited, and I'm so thankful to John because he got up at 3, 4 in the morning.
That is correct.
Thank you for doing so, John.
Guess what? We are going to be traveling to Australia. And as Judy mentioned, we are very thankful for John to get up so early in the morning. Maybe he hasn't been to bed, who knows, yet. But so good morning, everyone. And today we're going to be talking about engine cooling technology. And we're going to have John from Davies Craig. And we are bringing John to the panel. I'm getting a note from our producer. So John will be starting his camera soon. And then we have our good friend, Marty Stagg, who is basically a big ambassador of Austrian products here in the US. Most of you know Marty from Turbo Smart, but Marty, with his business partner, Nick Cooper, started about 8 or 9 years ago, a distribution business called 3P Connect. And he looks after a lot of those great RCs, from Turbo Smart to Petters to, Davies Craig's, obviously, Speedflow, and many others. So we're delighted to have you guys this morning with us. And then to host the webinar, we have the great Jeff Hammond, who is back from Daytona. So good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Will you stop that? I'm just a doggone backyard mechanic that happens to be a pretty decent analyst. I mean, cut me a break. There's nothing great about me. I'm telling you right now, those kind of words scare me. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I really feel like all of a sudden you're putting me way out there, and I feel like I'm out there by myself. I like this being in the group. Okay, we're just a bunch of old racers here. We're going to talk some trash and some smack, and we're going to talk some products. I mean, that's what we do, Francis.
Good. So welcome to the group.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Jeff, you're in charge. Judy and I will disappear for the next 55 minutes, and we'll see you guys very shortly. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. Look, let's jump straight into this thing. How about bringing me up to speed? Because I read over the information and everything, but let's just pretend that I've tuned in, and I'm going to welcome everybody else who is tuning in or will be tuning in, that we're glad you're here. Something that's very important to any kind of product that needs to be cooled. This is where you guys come into play, especially you want to talk about cooling automobiles and race cars, motorcycles. I'm sure a little bit of everything. John, you can probably bring us up to speed on that better than even I can. But let's try to explain to me, what's going on over here at Davies Craig.
Well, where would you like to start? I guess what's important from our perspective is that we've developed this product over the last 20 or so years to the point where we've now got 35 gallon per minute electric water pumps, compact remote mounted electric water pumps that you can fit on the bottom radiator hose of just about any car, as well as being used in superchargers and also turbocharger intercooler applications. I could go through the history, but I don't want to bore everybody. But it's been, as I say, just over 20 years since we developed the 80 litre water pump, or 20 gallons per minute water pump. I've got to talk in gallons. I'm talking gallons. Yes. And from that perspective, we developed a 30 gallon per minute pump, and now the 40 gallon per minute pump. So we're pretty excited with this product, and I know Marty, as our partner over there in US, has been very active in promoting our products through the various warehouse distributors, and we're pretty excited with the level of support that we're getting from not only the warehouse distributors, but indeed the customer base over there. It's pretty exciting times for us, to be honest.
Well, Marty, you want to give me your perspective of it? Because I want to go back to the fact he said, I don't want to bore anybody about the history, but there's some of that history I want to better understand. So what's your perception of it?
I think that's important too. I think John skipped over a couple of things, especially regarding the innovation of Davies Craig and the technologies that they actually pioneered in the automotive market. I think you should step back a little bit, John, talk about electric fans.
I'm a pretty modest guy, you know me, Marty, but yeah, more than happy to talk about the innovation. I mean, it started back in 96 when we partnered with the CSIRO, that's the Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organisation here in Australia, government body, and that development, that actually took place over a 5-year period before we released the 20 gallon per minute pump, which has been an absolute revolution. That's been our biggest seller. Something like 30 or 40,000 of those units worldwide have been sold. So, yeah, which we think's, well, it's quite remarkable. But as a compact, standalone, remote-mounted electric water pump, it really has been a revelation to the industry, either replacing the existing mechanical water pump, or indeed used to complement the existing mechanical water pump.
And what about electric fans, John?
Well, you want to digress to electric fans? Absolutely.
Well, this is engine cooling after all, and Davies Craig
Indeed.
is involved in all aspects of engine cooling.
We are indeed. Yeah, well, that's really how the business started 50 years ago. Two guys by the name of Darryl Davies and Bill Craig, who are aircraft pilots, in actual fact, developed an electric fan by basically taking the blade fan off an old car and building these electric fans. And again, as I say, that was the core part of the Davies Craig business when it got started.
With that being said, I guess my point is, and my question is, why? Why was there a need for this? I mean, what was the main thought of these guys? I mean, I read up on it and I understand some of the concepts of it because I've been around when we used to run the metal fans on the end of the water pump and cringe every time you rev an engine up, wonder whether or not a fan blade's going to come whizzing by your head. So I understand that concept, but down in Australia, I'm sitting there thinking, this would be something you'd find being developed maybe in Indianapolis or someplace like that. But I'm surprised the need down there. You know, can you shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, this is probably one of the hottest continents in the world, and one of the things that these two guys were keen to develop was obviously looking at gaining. Think back 25 years, and something like that. You take a blade off the front of a radiator fan blade off the front of an engine, and I can tell you can develop a hell of a lot more horsepower. And if you're into racing, as we all know, milliseconds are important. And these guys were pretty keen to ensure that they get as much horsepower as they possibly could out of that particular engine. And taking the fan off it made quite a bit of difference. In some instances, some of the cars were developing an extra 7 to 10 horsepower. And that was important when you, in the scheme of things, when you go racing. And I guess the adjunct to that was the development of the electric water pump, which of course saps some of the power out of the engine, and having that remote mounted and away from the actual engine itself was also increasing horsepower.
And to further expand on that, Mr. Hammond, my experience dealing with Australian manufacturers over the last 15 years is Australia is an amazing country of people that, I don't know, by design or just because it's just a really big island, they're very innovative. There are so many products and so much technology that is all evolved from necessity of guys tinkering, they call it a shed, their back garage, to solve a problem because they didn't have access to North American products very easily, for example, or Europe or Asia. And so, I mean, modern electronic control units, ECUs, that all came from Australia. The electric fan that was developed, I mean, they're very popular and common now, but that was developed, in Australia. so many things all came from Australia. They're all gearheads. They love cars. They love vehicles. It's just in their DNA. And just because they're somewhat isolated from the rest of the world, at least, a long time ago before we became a global economy, they were forced to, create and develop these, incredible products on their own. And as the world opened up, they even had their own domestic automotive production there. I mean, it's to that level. Obviously, that's changed over the last couple of years due to globalization, but there's a lot of innovation and an incredible technology that's all come from, backyard mechanics in Australia just trying to solve a problem.
No, I can understand every bit of that. And what I'm just amazed is the fact that we were kind of missing out on that. We were just had our heads down digging here in the States thinking, okay, this is the way we got to do it. And to see what you come up with over there, John, is quite, I don't know. It's like, again, it's quite amazing, but at the same time, it's fascinating because, not recognizing your country as being as crazy about racing as they are. And we really should know better. I really should, because we've seen some of them come to the United States and we've sent, during the off season, we know a lot of, especially sprint car racers, they want to come to your country because, again, you guys kind of like, are running when we're not. So it's convenient and it gives people a lot of opportunities to go down there and share technology. And I think the other part of it is you've taken the simple equation of where do you find horsepower when you feel like you're maxed out or you're restricted on it? Well, that's free horsepower. You take a fan off, drag on the engine, pull anything that's slowing it down. Same thing with a water pump. We know we've got to cool it. We know we've got to run water through it. How better can we do it? Electric, if you got a good, you got to run an alternator. If you got a good alternator, that's free. That's a free way to do it. And the efficiency with what I know when we first started switching over to electric fans, I don't think we did a very good job here because we had a lot of fan failures, and it wasn't your product. It was other people's product that thought they had the right idea. And it didn't take very long to come up with the realization that we need to look worldwide at some of the stuff. And then particularly, I do know and talked to some one of the engine builders this past weekend about your product and how it is one of the most revered and reliable products on the market today.
Well, thank you. Well, look, as you say, 50 years of development technology. It obviously started with a pretty simple and pretty basic fan, but like everything else, we spend a lot of money on research and development to ensure that these particular fans are going to cut it, because it's important that they do. We offer a 2-year warranty with all our fans, which I think is a probably industry benchmark from what I can gather. And look, we have a great source of what we call pancake motors for the thermatic fans. And again, we've had that same source for the last 45 years. They've been very, very cooperative with us. And as I say, from the number of fans we have, 8-inch, 9-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, 14 and 16-inch fans. And again, as I say, we're pretty proud of that particular product, and also proud of the electric water pump, because in this situation, the two work in situ, the electric fan, the electric water pump, and we do have a controller that will control both those particular elements of the engine cooling process. And it's pretty important to get a cool and a even flow of engine coolant at a time when the engine's revving its head off, and either in traffic or whatever. It's pretty important that the coolant flow is as even as it possibly can to ensure that you get an effective cooling process.
Real quick, guys, we're starting to get some questions from some of the folks that are viewing, and Double A Ram would like to know, they made a statement to begin with. Australians have got a lot of cool cars that we never get here too. They don't want us to forget that, but they also want to know, where are Davies Craig's product manufactured? Is everything come from Australia, or do you guys have a manufacturing plant here?
It's all manufactured. It's all manufactured here in Melbourne, Victoria, and we, as I say, we're obviously very proud of that. But not forgetting that, as Marty pointed out earlier, we're just a little island in the middle of the Pacific down here. 25 million people, and America, where 350 million people reside, we clearly wanted to take this product to the American market, and for that we can be thankful for 3P Connect, who and without going into all the details, but Marty and I met probably about 10 years ago at a PRI show, and Marty was chasing an electric booster pump for a snowmobile. We had this discussion the other day, having a bit of a laugh, and really it developed from there. And look, Nick Cooper's a very close friend of ours, and we've partnered with 3P Connect, and as I say, it's been a happy marriage. I can assure you, it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a great ride. And we ain't done yet. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're looking forward to progressing that over the next generation or so.
Real quick, you mentioned where your manufacturing plant is. I'm sure there's a lot of people around the world. Now, the ones that deal with you, they know this, but the ones who don't, what is it like to place an order to get a product from your, company to them? And, what kind of timeframes are we looking like?
Well, okay, good question, Jeff. The good part about this is, first of all, we keep good stock with Marty at 3P Connect in California. So as far as getting stock, that's the easy part. We have a 6 to 8 week time frame to get the stock into Marty's warehouse, and we've got some great inventory management systems to ensure that we've got the right stock in the right place at the right time. Pretty simple. Sounds simple, but underneath it's a bit like a duck on water. It's not doing much on the surface, but underneath it's paddling like crazy, and that's really what we're doing in terms of getting our product to market. And again, as I say, Marty has been instrumental in assisting us to get to that point, that most of the highly regarded warehouse distributors do have our products in stock, and it can get it overnight out of California.
Marty, what say you about how you've been able to come up with such a great system? Because everybody knows normally when you get on the other side of the world, it doesn't get here very quickly. So it takes a lot of planning. It takes making sure that you've got what you're anticipating, not only that it's kind of like the future stuff when it comes out, but also the regular stuff from day to day to make sure you don't run short. Sure.
So sorry about that. Damn California Title 14 lighting. So we have an advanced inventory management system, but Davies Craig and all of my Australian partners clearly understand that stock is king, right? I smash this through to them daily, right? My customers, the people that we sell to, we're the pipeline for these products, include Summit Racing and Jegs and all of your major distributors in North America, Keystone Auto, all of them are my customers. They stock the product as well, and they're counting on us to provide them, the channeling, make sure that they're supplied constantly through, regular stocking orders and drop shipping. So we handle all of that for them. So we work together, and we have real-time inventory feeds to these customers as well. So they constantly know every night they get an updated report. What do we have in our warehouse? Okay. I talk to people at Davies Craig very regularly, and they actually get a report out of our system regularly as well as to current inventory feeds. So these days with technology, the information is available real time. Yeah. And I have a full staff of people here as well that support these customers. So, they call and do stock checks. They need advice on the products or what have you. So we're the local people that help them. And then should there be a need outside of normal US business hours or a technical question that my people can't handle, obviously John and his team are available as well. So the level of support is multi-layered, and we leverage technology to provide these customers with what they need.
You guys sound like your counterparts to EPARTRADE. Maybe that's one of the reasons why y'all work so well together, because I've always said this new format that they have as far as keeping people educated on what's going on around the world is the 24/7 ability to get online and do something. Tell everybody right now, John, what time is it where you are?
It's 20 past 4 in the morning.
20 past 4.
Yeah.
Now, is that yesterday or is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow for you. Yeah,
Tomorrow.
you're right.
Okay.
We're 15 hours, 16 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
And we're ahead of you in technology as well, but let's not go down that.
Hey, it ain't bragging if it's true, is it?
Right.
Huh?
That's right.
Oh, no. I'll leave the bragging to Marty. He's pretty good at doing that. But
I'm American.
just echoing what Marty said. The great thing about what we do is with answering customer inquiries and things like that. I get I get emails. And I've had 3 or 4 this morning already that come into our office basically overnight, and we can basically answer that. We certainly answer those. We've got a pretty strict policy here of answering customer queries, technical questions within a matter of hours, and we can get that information back. So when Marty gets into work and Gloria and his team, Marty and his team and Gloria and so on get into work, they've got an answer. And in actual fact, what we do in a lot of instances, the emails come from the customer. We email back to the customer direct and copy in Marty and the team, and it seems to work pretty well, Marty, doesn't it?
And if you think about it, with Australia's time zones being so just about opposite of ours, and the way the international timeline works, our customers virtually have 24/7 access to someone.
Exactly.
Right? When you really think about it, there's really only one day a week when we're both not working. That's it.
Correct. Yep.
So it's about as real time as anything can possibly be.
Okay.
The technology. Oh, sorry, Jeff. I was just going to say the technology we have today, and here we are, regardless of whatever the time of the day it is, that we can sit down, we can talk about product, we can talk again, as I say, around the world 24/7. And if you have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to discuss product, it's no big deal to me. And I don't think it's any big deal to other guys in the industry that we talk to in Australia as well. We understand that it's important that communication is absolutely key in this whole situation, that the information that we have at hand is disseminated as quickly as it possibly can be to the people that are chasing it.
Okay, gentlemen, we got a question here from Mark, and he wants to know, what's the difference today compared to 5 or 10 years ago in the cooling technologies? I mean,
I'll handle that.
Okay.
Then John, you can back me up if you want.
Go ahead.
I think about this a lot. So if you think about it, as we adapt from mechanical thermal management, cooling, right? So an engine mounted fan, an engine mounted pump, their parasitic losses, these other things. There's another key component there that you need to think about, and that is warming up of the engine and then heat soak after shutdown. And Mr. Hammond, you'd be very familiar with this, right? Yeah. So adapting electronic technology. In addition, there's another product that Davies Craig has that we haven't mentioned yet, which would be the engine cooling, controllers. You're able to adjust the fan speed and the flow of that pump based on whatever parameter you want. So if you want quicker warm up, let's slow down the pump, let's slow down the fan, engine warms up quicker, and then it's able to maintain a much more consistent temperature. So let's say it's a street vehicle, and especially in California, and you're cruising along and traffic comes to a stop, right? A engine mounted fan and pump, right? When you're sitting there idling, the flow slows down, right? And then let's say you have your air conditioning on and these other things that are putting additional load on the motor, temperatures, especially in older vehicles, can start to rise. Well, if it's decoupled from the engine and being run by the ECU or, a controller, we can speed up the fan and pump regardless of the engine speed and maintain a consistent temperature, which improves efficiency of the motor, emissions, you name it. In addition, in a motorsports or racing application, you come into the pits, you're done. You need to shut it down for a little while. In NASCAR, for example, they bring out fans and these other things and hook them up to auxiliary coolers so they don't heat soak, but most people don't have access to that. Well, with proper technology, an electronic fan and engine water pump, you can keep that thing running for a few minutes to keep the engine from heat soaking and developing hot spots and, number 8 cylinder or whatever, and then have the thing automatically shut itself off when the temperature reaches, whatever your desired parameter is. So That's the big difference that technology has brought in over 5 or 10 years ago, when everything was mechanical. You know, your little mechanical thermostat was all you had to kind of restrict the flow to get it to warm up. But then the problem of, you know, stopping and sitting idling for an extended amount of time, or in racing and motorsports applications, heat soak and the damage and the effects it has on the engine after, you know, a few laps of wide open throttle, all of these things are taken out of the equation now. So you can literally, your vehicle could be more smart about its cooling and thermal management.
The good thing, as Marty has said, you can actually switch the engine off and the actual water pump and the fan will continue to run. And that's very, very, very important, because you must keep the coolant circulating after engine shutdown, and it'll actually drag the temperature down. Over my, well, I think it's left or right shoulder, I'm not sure which way you're looking at it, but the car that we've done a lot of work with is a 550 Spider, which does have a 2.5 litre Subaru water-cooled fuel-injected engine. It's got a water pump, a fan and water pump up the front, and it races. And I can tell you, it's absolutely brilliant. When you come into the pits, you can just turn the engine off and get out and walk away from it, and come back in 5 minutes' time, and it's ready to go out again. It's that good, and all with a little thing like this, a little 4.5-inch electric water pump that pumps out up to 40 gallons a minute. And then it's controlled by this little diamond, the digital controller. Where are we? Somewhere there.
Right there.
Now,
Yeah.
it's obviously it's all hooked up. It's basically a plug and play. And frankly, we have had a lot of success with both the electric water pump and the digital controller. And there's plenty of people around the world that can vouch for that. Doesn't have to come from me, but I'm sure Marty's got a number of people that he can refer to who've used certainly the water pump in the intercooler and supercharger application as well. We haven't even talked about that, and I'll let Marty elaborate on that if we have to. But from our perspective, again, it's a matter of getting the product to market, and thankfully our good people and Marty and his good people at 3P Connect are doing a fabulous job in ensuring that the market is being looked after and being catered for.
Well, we still got questions coming here, guys. You ready for a few more?
Yeah, I got that one.
All right.
That's from my young man. That's from my young man in France. I know that. Hi, Demi. How are you? Oh, yeah. Interesting. Marty touched on a point in respect to OE. One of the things that most people would be aware, you try and get an OE to spend $1, good luck. They've got the deepest pockets and the shortest hands in the world, some of the OEMs. They don't spend a lot of money on electric water pumps, but there are some European manufacturers that do use an electric water pump, and that it is a developing market. And the other thing that we haven't even touched on yet, of course, is the electric vehicle market, and that's coming at a great rate of knots as well. And there's certainly batteries are needing to be cooled at the same time. So at this stage, we've done a little bit of work with some of the OEMs, but again, as I say, when it gets to price and cost, they guard every dollar, and because it's such a competitive market, they've stuck with basically most of the older technology. But look, I think we're going to see that change over the next decade or so.
Well, we still got a question here from Christopher, and he wanted to know, in y'all's opinion, does sizing a water pump for application involve a ratio of mass flow to power output? And what other factors weigh in when you make recommendations?
Well, Marty, do you want to talk about that in respect to the US engines?
Well, the short answer is yes, but a lot of times I think people overcomplicate things a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, somehow, some way, there is a thermostat in the system or some sort of smart controls happening. I have a Porsche, for example, and it's all electric, and I bring it in, after a drive where I bring it in the garage. And I remember the first day we got it, my wife's like, why does the car sound like it's still running? It was all of the coolers and fans and things in the water pump still running because it has all of this technology built in. So my opinion on this is you really can't have too big of a water pump, really electric water pump. At the end of the day, they'll all do a very good job. I have my own preferences, but the vehicle itself will do what it needs to restrict the water flow. So you don't really have overcooling. I guess the only place this would be a problem is in really cold climates, Canada or Alaska or what have you. But those are typically more special applications. But if you really wanted to, if you had something very odd, and you were designing a completely new system, then I guess you could get that far into it. But we kind of already, it's just experience. No, this pump will handle this many cubic inches of engine and this type of, heat rejection that you need. And it's pretty simple.
Yeah, Marty's right. And we've got there's an application chart on our website. So basically cubic capacity, you can't, as you say, you can't put a too large a water pump on an engine, because you've got the controls and the mechanisms that are going to control the flow commensurate with engine temperature anyway, which is pretty important. So yeah, but again, whether it's a small engine, be it a 1 litre engine or a 7 litre engine, we've got them pretty well covered. And again, as I say, there's a application chart on the website. We're more than happy to field any questions if someone's got some other questions relating to any particular engine that may require some cooling.
Is it part of the equation? You haven't heard you mention it yet. We got the fans, we got the water pump. What about the radiator itself? I mean, matching that up as far as, how many fluids you think it needs to be to make it effective. You got enough, you got overkill, how do you, is that part of the equation, what we're talking about here?
Well, good question. That's a good question. And I haven't got it in front of me, but one of the tests that it was done in California. They took I think they took a little, listen, I'm going back a while now. But one of the things that they did was to test with an electric water pump, a mechanical water pump, and they found that they could reduce the size of the radiator by 27%, which is pretty significant. So now the good news from that outcome is that you don't need to change your radiator. The radiator that you've currently got in the vehicle is going to be absolutely adequate, more than adequate. If you want to downsize, fine. And yes, you can do the equation to work out exactly how small a radiator you can put in the vehicle. But it's not necessary to spend that sort of money to go and spend another $1,000 or how much a radiator is going to cost, but some of the good ones are right up there. You just don't need to spend that sort of money. The electric water pump and the electric fan, disengaging the existing mechanical pump if you don't want to take it off the block, is absolutely fine.
And I'd say in special instances where you're building something from scratch, a complete combination, your builder or someone, just seek advice. It's just experience, right? Seek the advice of your builder that's done it before. That's more often than not, that's the right way to go, because again, you can work yourself in circles trying to come up with the perfect flow and number of fans and number of rows through the core and this and that. Talk to someone that's already done it, get their advice from experience. You're better off that way. You'll save yourself a lot of headache and time and wasted money.
Exactly. Marty's absolutely right. We work on the KISS principle. Keep it simple.
I'm right here with you. I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
Now, it's always great to have people you can talk to and can help you be smarter rather than proving yourself you're not as smart as you think you are.
Everyone's an engineer these
That's
days.
how it works out. The other question I'd have is, how much involvement, Marty, especially here in the United States, do you have with the different racing, series, from NASCAR to, do they call you from time to time and talk about, like I said, we got some stuff coming down with this new 2022 car. And I'm just wondering, are they already looking at possibly moving in this direction as far as electric water pumps and changing the scene?
We hear from various sanctioning bodies fairly regularly. And especially because my business is so diversified, we handle everything from engine hard parts to, cooling systems. So we kind of cover the gamut. But a vast majority like NASCAR is very heavily regulated, right? So a lot of times that's what's dictating which way they're going and who they're using.
Right.
I'm not going to say a lot of what I think of how some of this stuff comes about, but it's cubic dollars. And most large organizations, so the manufacturers of certain products may be involved in those decisions as well, through their various programs. But we do get involved, and we get asked to get involved from time to time, and it just depends. It really depends.
Yeah. Well, here we've got an email I think we really need to share, because I think it's a reason why people listen to these webinars here on EPARTRADE, and why it's so important for you not to miss one and keep up with what's going on in the near future, because they're going to keep them coming. But AA Racing, I think, is who the party is. And he's saying, I'm part of a huge network of drift racers from grassroots levels through pro. I'm jumping around in my seat right now with excitement, right? Because the cooling a car that's on the rev limiter sideways with no forced air has always been a challenge, especially in the summertime when the track temperatures are well over 100 degrees.
Well, I can certainly answer that. I can answer that one. We have a lot of drifters in this country, and I don't think there's a drifter car or a time attack car down here that wouldn't have an electric water pump. You just cannot. You just cannot run a drift car without the assistance of an electric water pump and even the electric fans. You're absolutely right. They're driving sideways. In some instances, we've had guys that have developed radiators so the air can come in sideways. But what's important is that the coolant flow is consistent, commensurate with the engine temperature. In other words, that they're on the rev, and these things, they're pulling 7, 8, 10,000 RPM, and the engine absolutely is revving its head off. And of course, the situation you've got is that there's no way a mechanical water pump will keep up. It'll just start to cavitate, and next thing you know, you've cooked an engine or you've boiled an engine. So your day's over, or at least that particular run's over. So from our perspective, the electric water pump is absolutely the way to go. And because it's such a universal fit, as I showed you before, little 4.5-inch water pump here that bolts onto the bottom radiator hose. It's pretty simple. We try and keep it simple. We try and keep it simple down here.
More specific to drifting, especially, is 99% of them have a rear-mounted radiator. They relocate the radiator, so it requires a remote-style water pump. I don't care whose it is. And I will tell you, some of the top drift racers in North America are using Davies Craig water pumps, that EWP 150, to do the job. So I know that from experience. Okay,
and when you say that, how about the dirt racers? I mean, a lot of them, I know they've been trying to do the same thing. You don't want to put the radiator up front because it gets full of mud. So we can put it behind and blow it back and forth. Again, we're going to cool off.
Same deal, Jeff. Yeah, same deal. Exactly. We've got radiators. You put a radiator in the trunk, and it's exactly what Marty said. You've got the water pump, remote water pump on the bottom of the radiator hose, pumping the coolant all the way through to the front of the engine or front of the vehicle. And really, if you fancy finishing a race, it's the only way to do it. And a lot of the dirt track races over here would have a radiator in the trunk.
And the ideal solution is you have two pumps in series. So you'd have one up near the front and one in the back by the radiator. And these pumps can pump through each other and handle any sorts of G-forces, or off-road vehicle, a stadium truck, for example. They're jumping and doing a lot of things, right? You run two pumps, and it works phenomenal.
Now, when you say that, they're running at the same time. But if one quits,
you still have something.
Can overcome
no
it.
problem.
It will keep going.
It'll run through the other one, Jeff.
Correct.
The impeller is a freewheeling impeller. The motor, there'll be a very, very minor flow impediment, but the other pump would just take over.
And even with applications where they've kept the mechanical pump, we actually will run a Davies Craig remote pump as a booster pump, if you want to call it that. And we just say basically remove the thermostat or drill a hole in it to free up some flow. but you'll actually run the stock pump and this pump as a remote mounted booster pump to improve the coolant flow, where, you know, maybe it's still running pretty much stock everything, except they put twin turbos on it. Now it's making 1,200 horsepower. So you got 1,200 horsepower LS with a stock radiator and a stock water pump. Add a Davies Craig auxiliary pump as a booster,
Right.
and, you know, pick up some additional flow and help with the cooling. It's very common.
Since a lot of times your units are being run off the ECU, we all know that the ECU requires quite a bit of power from the battery to make it run efficiently. How does your product match up there? I mean, do you draw a lot of power running this little small water pump?
I'm glad
Most
you asked that.
efficient in the industry.
Yeah, glad you asked that question, because it's absolutely running flat out, draws less than 10 amps. That's
It's
it.
the most efficient in the industry because of the impeller design and the motor that's used.
Yep.
All right, we got another question here, guys, and I hope I get his name. David Kantz from
Yep.
road racing application. Is there a benefit using the alloy pump versus a nylon version?
Good question. No, short answer. The alloy pump primarily was developed, it's got dash 16 fittings, internal threads, and for some applications, especially drag racing, etc., who they don't like radiator hoses. You can't get a car scrutineered with conventional radiator hoses on it. So the alloy pump initially was developed with that in mind. As far as the nylon pump's concerned, the EWP 115, which is a 30-gallon per minute pump, and the alloy, there's no difference in capacity, no difference in performance. And if one's about 350, 400 grams lighter than the other, and if you're chasing weight, then you'd go with a nylon one, subject to where you're going to mount it in the vehicle. If it's going to be in a place where it's not going to be exposed to exhaust heat or manifold heat or whatever. But no, in fact, the nylon electric water pump was the one that we first developed back in 1999, and that's still our major seller, one of our biggest sellers today.
Okay, Marty, what else can you share with us today as far as, is there anything in the system, or John one, that you'd like to talk about before we go? Like I say, we got about another 15 minutes here, so I want to make sure if there's anything that's in the future of David Craig's that we need to know about.
Well, if I told you, I'd have to shoot you. No, seriously.
Shoot Marty instead.
He wants to some days.
Yeah, it's okay. We're in a constant state of research and development. We're looking at various flow rates of electric water pumps, looking at various impeller design and volute chamber design of electric water pumps. We still want to keep them compact, and we're still chasing flow, as Marty knows. He's been at me, and we're still working on it. It's and also the other interesting aspect, of course, is looking at brushless motors suitable for electric water pumps as well. That's another area that we're spending a fair bit of time and a fair bit of research and development on. So look, all I can say is watch this space, and we'll certainly keep the industry well and truly informed once we have something that we can that we feel comfortable about to show people.
All right, so Marty, if I come to California, you're going to show me the warehouse and expose me to some of this technology that I keep seeing, but I want to see it firsthand.
Absolutely. We have everything in stock. We have a very large facility and a great team here that supports all of these products. Like I said, every major distributor in North America is a channel for these products, so they're readily available. There's no hidden secret password you need to get these products. They're readily available everywhere. And we are the pipeline for these products. So we're not specifically a distributor. We are a supplier to the distributors. So we are literally Davies Craig North American office. So we help them with development, R&D, the warehousing, the local support, etc. And it's the same for the other 10 Australian brands that we support. So that's our purpose. So we are the pipeline. We are the ones that build the bridge between Australia and North America. That's where we sit.
And that is absolutely, that is very important, because we found when we first came to PRI and SEMA, everyone liked our product. They thought it was absolutely fantastic. And as soon as you said, where can you get it? You said, oh, well, we bring it in from, we've got to import it from Australia. The conversation almost stopped. So we recognized very early in the piece that we needed to have people like Marty and his team on the ground to ensure that we could get the product very quickly to North America, and he in turn get it out into the marketplace.
And someone asked earlier, how quickly do you ship it? We do our best to ship it the same day, but our statement is it ships between 1 and 3 days. It's out of here. With the volume of business we have, that's how quick we ship it. But for example, for a drop ship, let's say, one of these distributors out and they need it drop shipped. We work very hard to ship it the same day we get it, as long as it comes within a reasonable amount of time, before noon, for example. Yeah. And another thing that I guess is important to understand, there's a reason why we're located in Southern California on the West Coast. This enables us to ship until 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. So if you've got a racer or someone who's in Florida at a track, and it's Friday night and something happened, they need something next day aired to the track for Saturday AM delivery, we can do that. We do that regularly. We're 5 minutes from the West Coast UPS and FedEx hubs. So I have a guy that goes to the airport to the hubs every night just for those last minute packages. Yeah. So the service level is very important to us and our customers, and they realize that. Absolutely. In addition, we're only 1 hour from the port. So when something comes in, we have it generally the next day that it clears customs, right? I can't control the port operations, but it doesn't then have to go and get put on a train and then shipped off to Indy or something. Don't get me wrong, I love Indy, but the reason why we're here is because this is, from a logistics standpoint, it makes the most sense for supplying the market. And let's be honest, Amazon has trained everybody that they think if they place their order somewhere on some website, that some fairy drops it in a box and it shows up on their doorstep the next day. That's how the American consumer, at least, thinks these days. So it is important that the products are readily available and they get them quickly, or they get frustrated and move on to something else. So it is our aim to do the best that we can to provide that level of service that they're expecting.
Okay, with all that being said, but there are, from time to time, there are distributors on the East Coast that carry your product.
Oh, they do. They all stock it. Yeah. Yep, for sure. Okay,
so with the EPARTRADE platform that's out there, if they get online and look your company up, they can find these these distributors here on the East Coast, or you need to go straight to you, Marty?
No, absolutely. And they're listed on Davies Craig website. We're very public and very supportive about that. And look, if there's a part in the country, an area that's not well covered by a distributor, we're happy to talk to new potential distributors as well.
I can tell you, if Marty needs something in a hurry, we've worked out a system. We can get parts into Marty's warehouse within about 2 days, 3 days. Yeah,
we go to that level. They will air freight. If I say to my partners, guys, we're in trouble here, we had a big run, or for example, we do support a manufacturer of engines for a specific racing series, and they got a new program coming up and they needed more stock of something and we didn't have enough of it. I'm like, guys, I need your help. They put it on a plane. Yeah. That's the level of commitment that I require from our partners, and that they've committed to me, and this market as well. If they want to be serious about the North American market, they need to be serious about supporting it, and they do it. And as John said, just a few weeks ago, they put a pallet on a plane. It's incredibly expensive, but it's important that we have the products and we can supply the customers.
No, you know how everybody in any kind of industry, especially the racing world, we need it yesterday.
Absolutely.
And because tomorrow we got to have it, and we got to be racing. So no matter who you are, you never plan always perfect. A lot of people think they got their inventory where they need for it to be, but when you have that slip, we need somebody like you and John and Marty to be able to cover our butts for our mistake. So that's just the way the world works, especially in racing applications.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Again, unfortunately accidents happen, and breakages happen because you're stretching product in the motor racing fraternity to the nth degree, and sometimes things let go. And at the end of the day, you've got to make sure you've got the product there to back it up, because the guy wants to get back out onto the track yesterday.
Hey,
Yep.
Mark Owens from one of our attendees, he wants to know, Marty, have you ever spoken with the RRS Motorsports in Sydney?
I have not. No, I
He
haven't.
said something about it's a great product.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
product.
I'm happy to talk to them if they have some interest. I'll tell you, 3P Connect doesn't advertise 3P Connect specifically. The whole reason why it started was because other Australian manufacturers saw what I had done with, our primary business, TurboSmart, and said, "Hey, think you're onto something. Would you help us?" And I just kept hearing this common need for help. And I told Nick, I said, "Nick, I got an idea. A lot of these Australian companies need some help. Should we start replying to them and see if we can help them?" And I'll tell you, Davies Craig was the second company that came to us. So they were the second 3P Connect customer. And now, 9 years on, there's 10 Australian brands that we help. We're kind of unique, but it was all about solving a problem. And if someone has a need and needs some help, I'm happy to talk to them, but it has to fit our model. And I'm kind of direct about this, but my model is based around great products, great people, and great service. If you can't tick those boxes, I'll just be honest. I'm sorry. I don't have time for you. We're not in the commodity business. I don't peddle widgets, right?
Yeah.
We provide world-class service to world-class companies here, and I want only world-class products in my building. I'm a little older, and I guess I can be a little more jaded about that, but that's how I feel. I don't want to worry about all the people calling with their problems, and I, provided, crap. I'm not interested in that. What I want to do is come in on Monday morning and see my email inbox full of people just talking about how they just won this race or set this new record, and that's what gets me up every day. I'm very passionate about it.
Yep.
So
You hear
John,
that?
besides the thermal cooling deal, does your company do anything else or got anything else in the works as far as what they are working on?
No, look, we're pretty much we're very focused on the engine cooling technology, whether it be water pumps the size that I've showed you, or booster pumps that we also supply. That's our business: electric water pumps and electric fans. And again, we've never really deviated from that. We have some other products you can probably see in the background here, transmission oil coolers that we market in Australia only, but quite frankly, that's a small part of our business. The main core part of our business is electric water pumps and electric fans.
Hey, I got one real quick, kind of off the wall. We've been talking high performance products mainly, but how about, I'm a farmer. Okay. I farm sometimes. I put up hay and do all kinds of things. Do you ever have people calling from other types of industries saying, would this work on a tractor?
Absolutely. Okay.
All the time.
Well, yeah, I can absolutely. Yeah. I got a guy here that had a little Kubota tractor, and he was having issues with cooling. And I said, "Hey, just stick a little boost." I think it was a 1.5, 2 liter, 15 horsepower tractor. And I said, it was a thermo siphoning one. So anything we were going to do was going to improve it. So we put offered him an electric booster pump, and he's happy as a sandboy, just because he knew he could go out mowing and doing all the things that he wanted to do with his tractor without the thing overheating and having to stop to giving it the time to cool down. The other interesting area that we're looking at, we're more than looking at it, in the marine application, we can see where a remote mounted electric water pump can be very beneficial in the marine application with various types of usage in marine. So watch this space. There's a few things we're looking at in that area as well.
Let's face it, these pumps and fans don't know what they're connected to, right? If it's an internal combustion engine or an electric vehicle that has batteries that need cooling, there's a place for these pumps.
Well, is there, and AA Racing also asked, is there anything unique about your electric fans, John?
Well, I mean, what's important with an electric fan? They all, to be honest, they all look the same. But what's absolutely vital is the capacity of the motor to give you the cubic feet per minute. Nothing else matters. At the end of the day, nothing matters. CFM is king in as far as fans are concerned. If you haven't got a fan that develops a certain amount of cubic feet per minute, comparatively speaking, and there's plenty of them in the market if you want to go and look for them, which have got smaller motors, and quite frankly, half of them wouldn't part the hair on your head. But you've got to make sure that the motor is strong. If it's not strong, it will not do the job. And you're mindful of the fact that you've got radiators today, 3 and 4 core, sophisticated radiators, sophisticated product. And if you can't either push or pull the air through, and keeping in mind, ours are reversible, so you can actually put it on the front of the radiator or the back of the radiator. And quite frankly, it's important that the CFM is king.
Well, I mean, there again, when you get back to sort of making sure that you got a product and think about all the money you put into building a unit. I mean, I'm talking about building a race car, and you get down to the final part of it. You spent $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 on the engine. You spent $100,000 on the chassis, and if you can't keep it cool, you just
for nothing.
You're not. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Jeff. We field questions regularly from customers who've again spent that sort of money, eye-watering money, and they're still persisting with an existing old, iron age old mechanical water pump. And I'm thinking, heavens above, and of course, as we all know, you develop horsepower, you're going to develop heat, and if you can't get the heat out of the engine, you're nowhere. And it's absolutely vital that you look at all aspects of the engine when you are doing the sort of things that you've just mentioned and spending that sort of money. It's absolutely important. Something like this, that spending an extra $400 on an electric water pump, it's a drop in the ocean, but it's a very important drop in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, what I love about it is the fact you have the ability to shut the engine down and keep the circulation going. So you gradually pull that heat out instead of leaving it all trapped in the block or even in the radiator. I mean, that's not good. I mean, it's almost like, think about this. You wouldn't heat up a piece of metal that's important and throw it and quench it, because you never know what you're going to create. You cracks. I mean, it's not a good idea. And this is
I agree. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of one of the things that a lot of people were doing was just using a radiator fan after engine shutdown, but all that does is cool the coolant in the radiator. What about the poor old engine that's sitting there chuffing its head off and heat soaking like crazy? It's important to keep the coolant circulating through the block, through the radiator, back through the block again. And it's absolutely vital if you're looking to keep the temperatures of an engine down once you've shut it down. And
again, to your point, think about heat transfer between cast and aluminum. So you keep it all going, you're helping the whole product, especially the head gaskets, the valves, they're not warping. Everything goes hand in hand. So
absolutely.
Great product, great ideas. And I see that Judy and Francis has joined us back. So it must be telling me that we're getting very close to the end of our time limit. They got this real sneaky way of kind of like popping up on the screen, when you least expect them. But look, it's been great.
Watching.
It's been great.
Yes, we are.
Oh, it's been fabulous. I really, and Francisca, we go back a long way, mate. And I just want to say thank you very much. First of all, congratulations on your EPARTRADE. It's wonderful. And you're right. The electronic platforms today, you're further back than fullback if you don't adopt an electronic and a digital platform in this industry. It's absolutely important to keep communications with good people like you. And we might be 12,000 miles away, but really we're as close as we are today, just talking to each other, ensuring that we pass on all the good news that we've got to give your good people over there. And as I say, and I just want to also just compliment Marty, given the COVID-19 restrictions that we've had, these guys are doing absolutely fantastic job, working day and night. I ring in Marty and he's in the warehouse at 7 o'clock packing parts to get out to customers. That's a level of service that we really commend, and I just want to say publicly a big thank you and a big shout out to Marty and his crew over there, because without them, we wouldn't be where we are today in America. And I'd like to just say that on the record. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, well said.
I think, nothing to add. Thank you, John. You summarized everything. Now, thank you so much for getting up so early to be with us today. I have to apologize because at one point we had a little internet, worry here. So I hope you didn't feel any disconnection. So it was just, our internet went down. So it never happened before, but it happened today. But it just went on smoothly, so that's perfect. And the recording of the webinar will be available in the next 2 hours on the platform. We pushed Davies Craig's product back to the front page, so go on there, click on it. You can connect directly with Davies Craig, and John will get back to you. A big thank you for Marty. As John said, is the perfect partner for all these brands here in the US. Marty is not only a racer, but a gentleman, a very business savvy guy, and again, a friend. So thank you, Marty, for your support for all these years. We'll be back next week at 9 o'clock. And Judy, we're going to be joined by the great people from
World of Outlaws.
Very
Nice.
good. Very good. So
Wonderful.
we'll see you guys in about a week. Thank
Thanks
you very
again.
much.
Thanks
Have a
again.
great day.
Appreciate
Okay.
All the best. All the best.
Okay.
Ciao.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.